All right, so we are going to be looking at the difference between a Moving Beyond the Page literature unit and a Memoria Press literature unit. So as I was preparing for this video, it turns out that Moving Beyond the Page actually also has a Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe literature unit. I do not have that, so I'm not going to be able to show you that today, but that just goes to show you these are somewhat comparable. So the wholes unit we're going to look at is for ages 8 to 10, which is roughly 4th and 5th grade by Moving Beyond the Pages standards. And The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is actually a 5th grade component for Memoria Press's curriculum. So first we will start with Memoria Press because I feel it's much more straightforward. So if you buy the set, it comes with a student guide, which is where the student does their work, and the novel, as well as the teacher guide, which I do have, but I wasn't able to find. So you'll just have to either trust me on that one, or you could look at the sample on their website. So basically the way that this works is your student reads, you can purchase lesson plans that tell you what to do on what day, but essentially it is read a portion of this book and then do a portion of the student guide. So I'm going to flip to one particular marked lesson to show you today. And again, you can get a more robust sample on the Memoria Press website. But I'm using this one for a particular reason, which I will tell you in just a second. But this is for chapter 4. And so the basic layout of all Memoria Press literature guides is you have these various different chunks that students are going to be responding to. So here you have the words defined for you, which are, maybe harder to find, or they're just at the student's fingertips. Then you have vocabulary questions. So here, the student is supposed to use the context to determine what the word means. For younger levels, such as 2nd grade, they actually have standalone dictionaries for the students to use. I don't think they have one for 5th grade, but they do have different ones if that's something that you're interested in. So after the vocabulary section, then we move on to the comprehension question. So this is just standard reading comprehension. You read chapter 4, you should be able to answer these questions. Next, we have a pull-out quotation, which is just to bring the student's attention to it. And one thing I forgot to mention is this is the charter version. So this is a secular version of this offering from Memoria Press. But anyway, I meant to say that first, but I forgot. So the reason it jogged my memory is you may have a quotation if you had the traditional Memoria Press curriculum, which is a Christian company. They might be asking you to compare, something that's from the text to a portion of the Bible or a psalm or what have you. Or they might say, how is this person Christ-like, or things like that. So anyway, this is the secular charter version. It doesn't have that. So you have a quotation, and sometimes they have you do something with the quotation in the discussion questions or what have you. This one, they don't. So here we have 2 discussion questions. So these are different from comprehension questions because these discussion questions are really one of the key aspects to a Socratic dialogue, which is where you're asking the student what they think about something that may not have one answer. It's an open-ended question to encourage critical thinking and their logic skills and things like that. So that's something that is, I think, unique to Memoria Press as compared with other curriculum providers. Some people do it too, but it's really a core of Memoria Press in my experience. And then the next component in the Memoria Press student literature guide is enrichment. So I turned to this one because it has a recipe, and I was honestly surprised to find that. I didn't realize that they had a recipe in these literature guides, and I wanted to really highlight that some of the things that might be said about curriculum companies are based on people's experiences. So if you're watching a video and someone says, oh, this curriculum does not do X, Y, and Z, well, that person's experience is necessarily limited to the things that they've experienced. So I've been doing Memoria Press for several years, and I haven't seen a recipe in the enrichment section of literature. So I thought that was really neat. They do, of course, have like craft guides for the younger grades and things, but I really wanted to highlight this particular portion of the 5th grade thing because I thought that was really cool. And also most of the unit studies and party books and all these things about Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, of course, include Turkish Delight. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give them some kudos for that. And then in the other sections of enrichment in this guide, it has like more kind of discussion questions, but it's referring to other sources. So there are several questions that ask about famous men of Rome. And we do have famous men of Rome, but I couldn't find it when one of the questions was asked. So I went and I looked at the Memoria Press 5th grade, like if you bought everything from Memoria Press. And so Famous Men of Rome is the classical study for this year. So if you were doing the entire Memoria Press curriculum, you would easily have access to Famous Men of Rome to answer those questions. So in that way, it's kind of integrated, just like the Moving Beyond the Page that I'm going to show you. So I thought that that was an important point to make. And I think it's also a highlight of how they're integrating their different components of their curriculum. Another question that is asked in this says, compare XYZ in The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe to XYZ in the D'Aulaire Book of Greek Myths. So I thought that that was really interesting. And, you know, it's kind of similar to the thought process of the core knowledge, which is if you have read the D'Aulaire's Book of Greek Myths in 3rd or 4th grade as a classical student, you would be able to answer those questions rather easily instead of having to learn about it for the first time. So anyhow, this is the basic setup for this. We were only doing this really as a read aloud. So we did do some of the comprehension questions, but not too many because we were trying to get through this for a book club, which ended up being rained out. But I also didn't realize this was a 5th grade book when I got it. I thought it was a 4th grade. And so it was kind of, it's a lot. This whole comprehension questions, vocabulary, all this stuff is really a lot of work, very good work. And I don't have the lesson plans for this because I wasn't planning to fully use it, but I would venture to guess that you're not expected to do all of this in one day. When we did this for 2nd grade, it had it broken up into pieces, and I would guess that you're doing maybe vocabulary and some comprehension questions one day, and then the rest of the stuff the next day. But anyhow, this is the basic format for how Memoria Press student literature guides are. And then, like I said before, the teacher guide will have all of these answers for you to grade if you're not doing it with your child. But I just wanted to add a little end note while we're talking about this, that you could easily do these with your child orally, and then you could write the answers down if you were interested in focusing on their reading comprehension and recollection rather than their handwriting. So that is the Memoria Press Literature Guide. Next, we are going to talk about Moving Beyond the Page. So this is the wholes unit, and if you look at the back of any Moving Beyond the Page guide, as I discovered last year when I was frantically trying to figure out what goes with what, it has the whole year laid out for you. And so you'll see that wholes is almost the last unit of the 4th or 5th grade year. And it goes with the rocks and minerals unit, which looks like this. And so the way that Moving Beyond the Page works is you have a language arts unit and either a science or social studies unit to go with it. So that's how that works in the older ages. And these do not, I don't think these have separate student books. I think they're written to the student, although we didn't use it that way. The way that I use the Moving Beyond the Page curriculum is I like buying the teacher guide and then printing out the student pages on the computer. But I really do feel that having this as the guide is necessary because it has all of the instructions and the overview of everything that's going to be happening. And I will be doing a more in-depth discussion of the wholes unit in particular. Today, I just want to focus on the differences between how Moving Beyond the Page is set up versus Memoria Press. So the first thing I want to show you is this is the setup for an entire day if you're doing Moving Beyond the Page as your comprehensive out-of-the-box curriculum. So you'll see it allocates 30 minutes to the language arts reading and questions, and then 60 minutes to the language arts lesson, and then 60 minutes to the science or social studies lesson, and 60 minutes to math instruction. So that's 3.5 hours, right? Do I think that if you were doing the wholes unit, you could spend 90 minutes? Definitely. Wholes is a ginormous book for 4th grade, in my opinion, unless you have a voracious reader. If you have a typical reader, it's a lot. So I actually did this as a read aloud, just like with the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. And then we did work on the discussion questions together. So anyway, could that take 90 minutes? Definitely. It really depends on how many of the language arts activities you do, how old your student is, how diligent they are, how reluctant they are to do writing. Just like everything, it really depends. So this I wanted to show is the overview of the lesson, and I believe that this is available in the sample on the website. So that's kind of something. I don't think the Memoria Press one has an overview of what is taught. Oh, it does, but it's like it's more general. So this is what's included in all of the books, I think. I could be wrong, but this is specifically about this lesson. And then you get a materials list, and each lesson starts with kind of an overview of what you're going to be doing in that particular lesson and what materials you're going to be needing, the different activities. One of the things I really like about moving beyond the page as a content provider in general is that if you've accessed this online, you have these clickable links to do these different things, and these links are vetted by them. So you can just have your student log in, or you log in and do it with them and click on these links versus just going onto Google and trying to find stuff. So every lesson that has links is formatted that way. And then here you have like the first project is to go research various things, and then you start with your activity, and this one is kind of social studies, and then there's vocabulary, and then you're researching a biome, writing about it, stuff like that. So this is, I think, before you read wholes. So that is the first lesson. So basically, as you can see, there's like an overview of what you're going to be doing, and then you just have the student pages. So the first thing that we could see off the bat is that this is not a workbook that you hand to your student and then they can just go to town and independently do it. This is very parent intensive, and it's really much more traditional. You're teaching to your student, you're helping facilitate them do research, you are assigning them the project, which is different on every single lesson. The language arts is different. It's not necessarily predictable. And it's just like a different animal, if that makes sense. However, one thing that is in common, where did I put it, is there are discussion questions for each several chapters. So every chapter has questions. So you could see this one covers chapters 1 through 4, and these are just reading comprehension questions. So every single assigned reading from wholes that your student is doing is going to have corresponding reading comprehension questions. And then the next thing, because this is a language arts unit, is you have various language arts components. So that was the second part. If you recall the schedule I showed you, 30 minutes is the reading, and then there's a 60-minute language arts lesson. So this one is kind of a vocabulary, and then this is for something else I'm going to be doing. Then we have prefixes and suffixes, and as you can see at the top of the page, it's telling you which lesson this goes with. And there's different language arts concepts taught in each lesson. So we initially did this just as a reading comprehension unit, or not unit, but focus. That was our focus, was reading it and doing the reading comprehension, because that is a skill set that you do have to practice. You do need to actually put effort into in order to be able to do it. And we've now started doing the rest of the language arts options. So anyway, that's kind of an overview. There's definitely some science and other things going on. This is an overview of the skills that you learn in this unit, because again, this is a language arts unit that is designed to be used with science. So they're getting all of the catch-all things that go along with language arts. Whereas if you're looking at The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, I'll just show you this overview again. Memoria Press has got separate things. So you're doing this in Memoria, the context of Memoria Press, to get an appreciation, understanding, and knowledge base of the literature. Whereas you're separately doing writing and grammar and spelling. Those things are all separate. So this is not designed to be a all-encompassing language arts unit, whereas this is designed to do all of those things in one place. So I'm going to stop there because I've got some background noise about to be going on, but I just wanted to give an overview of those two different curriculums and show you guys what they're all about. And I will be hopefully, like I said, filming a separate video on the wholes, like as a review. So thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions down below.